Hey friends and family, we just wanted to bring you a video this week with our lead pastor, Matt Scott, just to unpack some of the things that are going on in the world right now. And so we've got him here today. Welcome. And we're just going to talk about some questions that you might have and some things that you can do during this season. So, Pastor Matt.
Yeah, hey.
This is crazy.
It is.
What would you say? Like, what's going on right now? What should people be doing?
Yeah, that's a really important question that I think a lot of people are probably asking today, especially in light of an ever-changing environment. I mean, literally news is coming out every 30 minutes to an hour. Somebody asked me this morning, I've been on the phone all morning with pastors in Birmingham. I've talked to pastors and leaders in Texas, in Georgia, other parts of the world, and literally everybody's saying the same thing. We are trying our best to figure out what to do, not just for the end of the week. I don't even know if anybody has made long-term plans.
Yeah.
It's what are we doing tonight? What are we doing tomorrow night with our programming and so on and so forth. So I think it's obviously it offers challenges for us all. It kicks us out of our routines. It throws things out of balance. We probably all find ourselves in spaces and places that we're not used to today, and while that can be very stressful, I think it also can be good. You know, it challenges us to think in new ways.
Absolutely.
I was reading something this morning that talked about the opportunities that the church has in times of crisis. And so anyway, I think one of the things that we need to be thinking is in terms of potential threats, because I think there are a lot of potential threats right now. We talked about that this weekend at our campuses. We talked about how our enemy loves to use our minds to gain authority, to capture our agreement. And when we begin to agree with things that he's saying, we actually empower him. Yeah. And so Jesus said, you really need to guard your mind. And I think that would probably be one of the biggest things I would say right now is just please be careful of what you're allowing into your mind. And if there's a thought that is not in line with what God says about you or God says about this situation, if there's a thought that maybe leads you down a path of fear and anxiety, I would dismiss that very, very quickly. So I would say guard your mind, be aware that there are open doors that are being placed before you that you don't want to step through. Yeah. And so just be careful there. I would say also one of the things in this season that's pretty important is capitalizing on opportunities. Just knowing that, hey, I may be at home for a few days. And, before this happened, I think all of us, if somebody would have offered us 2 free weeks off.
Yeah. Let's do it.
Praise God. Let's do it. Now, in light of current circumstances, I think that's threatening to some of us. Yeah. But let's not forget some of the blessings that may come of this. Time with kids and time with family and making the best of it. The last time I checked, they haven't closed our backyards. They haven't closed our living room. They haven't taken Yoo-hoo and Monopoly away from us. I mean, I think we have opportunities to do some things maybe that we've never done before. We also have opportunities to serve. We're talking to ministry partners this morning. All of our staff is online with ministry partners, seeing what community needs are. Our local community partner, Shepherd Supply, spoke with them this morning. They're going to need a lot in this season. They're going to need a lot of food donations in this season. They're going to need people to man drive-through lines where people just drive in and we drop bags of foods off in their car. They're also going to need some delivery people to deliver food to shut-ins and elderly. Yeah. And so there are tons of opportunities in this season. We're also looking at other opportunities. So if you do want to get out, if you want to get out, you want to serve, you want to be a blessing to somebody, we're already starting to assemble some prayer teams. So it's really kind of neat to see these opportunities present themselves. Yeah. And then just remaining focused. I think that we talked about that this weekend. Let's not forget our purpose. Let's not forget who we are. I asked the question of myself. I asked the question of our congregation this week. Do you know how to be a Christian if they take our building away.
Such a good question.
If somebody takes our building away, or we can't come to our building for a season, if they take our programs away, and all for good reasons, not that this is persecution, but if our stuff gets taken away, do we know how to be the body of Christ? Do we know how to minister to people? Do I know how to worship the Lord without Holly, the worship team, and Zane and other? Do I know how to worship? Do I know how to read the Word? Do I know how to feed myself? And I could tell as I was asking those questions, there were a lot of wheels beginning to spin. Do I know how to do those things? Can I be a minister in the community? So I think those are things I'd be thinking.
That's good.
Yeah.
So with this and routines being messed up and, planners are just distraught.
Yeah.
What would you say to those who feel like their routine is no more and they don't really know how to get into a new or find a new routine?
Yeah, I think we get, I'm a planner. I know you're a planner. We've got several planners on staff, and we're kind of like, oh, this is so uncomfortable. My wife is not a planner. She's loving it. Like, it's adventure living, all of a sudden. And, for those of us that like structure, I think that we get to put into practice a verse that says something like this, trust in the Lord with all of your heart and lean not on your own understanding.
Yeah.
And so you get to put your money where your mouth is in times like this. Who do you trust? Are you trusting in schedules? Are you trusting in knowing what's going to happen next? Are you trusting that God is in control and He's got it no matter what the plans may look like? And so, I think it's a opportunity for us all to be stretched and to grow.
Yeah. Amen.
Yeah.
So for those that really are struggling with fear and anxiety, which I think is real, as much as we say, do not fear, we know that we have the Lord. What would you say to those that are just struggling right now?
Yeah, and it's real. I mean, one of the conversations I had with one of our teams this morning, I said, if there were militant terrorists driving up and down the streets right now with machine guns, holding captive everyone in their homes, I don't think any of us would blame anybody for being scared. That would be legit, because that would be a physical threat that is against all people right now. We would understand people hiding in their homes. We would understand that kind of persecution and the fear that it would lead to. But this is similar. It's not the same. There's not that type of threat, but this is something that is scaring people. It's just it's a different type of persecution.
Yeah.
And we've got people on every end of the spectrum. Again, I talked about this yesterday. We've got people that are just being very cautious, and we honor people that are being cautious. And on the other end of the spectrum, we got people that know this is why we're here. Let's get out. Let's get after this.
Yeah.
And I think we just need to be mindful and compassionate and considerate that everybody's in a different space mentally and how they're processing this. Everybody's perspective is different. And we need to help people on both ends.
Yeah.
We need to help people on both ends just really seek the mind of Christ in this situation. For those specifically dealing with fear and anxiety, the Lord took me to a counseling session that I had about 2 years ago. There was a guy that was having night terrors. Every night, 2 a.m., he would wake up absolutely riddled with fear and anxiety. It was really heartbreaking. And he had been dealing with this for about 6 months. Came and he said, I just don't know what to do about this. I prayed, I've sought the Lord, I just don't know what to do. And I'm sitting there thinking, I don't know what to do either, but the Lord gave me wisdom in the moment, and the Lord said, tell him this, every night that he wakes up at 2 a.m., tell him to pray. Tell him not just to pray that it goes away, but tell him to pray for missionaries that he supports, mission movements. Tell him to pray for his nation, to pray for his family, to pray for the lost specifically.
Yeah.
Like if turn it on the devil. If you're going to wake me up in the middle of the night, fine. I'm going to pray the pain off the walls. And sure enough, he put this into practice. He called me a week later, and he said night terrors are gone.
Amen.
So literally, he took the weapon that was pointed at him, and he turned it around on the enemy, and he quit having night terrors. Now, he said the cool thing is the night terrors stopped, but my routine of prayer did not stop. And some nights I'd wake up, not terrorized, but just wake up to pray. And some nights I didn't wake up, and just the morning that I did wake up, I prayed. And so I would challenge people that when that feeling of weight or stress or pressure comes or those thoughts come, just turn it. Turn it on that spirit and turn it on the enemy and pray. Pray for people that are struggling right now. Pray for our nation. Pray for our leaders. Pray for revival.
Yeah.
I firmly believe that, if this leads to several weeks of quarantine, that I don't think that the enemy's plan to isolate and separate is going to be successful. I think when people do come back together and we come out of our houses, that it's just going to ramp up revival to a level that we haven't seen yet. And so I'm just excited about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So last thing that we kind of want to talk about today is just in this information overload, with information changing rapidly, how do you kind of filter how much and what you pay attention to, and just the overloading of information right now?
So there's been several studies done, and I read one a couple of years ago when we were doing an anxiety and stress sermon series.
Yeah.
And one of the studies talks about that there is a actual legit addiction for information. There are people that are addicted to needing information, and that your brain actually releases the same satisfaction that you get when you taste your favorite dessert or one of your favorite foods. That same chemical is released when you gain some type of information, something that you did not know.
Yeah.
And so we're in a culture where information is readily available. Good information, bad information, worthless information.
Right.
I mean, it's just everywhere. It's at the tip of our fingers. And unfortunately, there are a lot of people that feel the need to be in the know about everything. And I think we've all known people, we probably all struggle with that. Like, I just need to know. I need to know what's going on. Yeah. And it starts at a young age, like our kids in the car. Are we there yet? No, we're not there yet. Are we there yet? No. Why are you so? I just need to know when we're going to be there. And so this need to obtain knowledge actually goes all the way back to the garden. And God said, there's some knowledge that you're going to be tempted with, but when you gain that knowledge of good and evil, it actually is going to hurt you.
Yeah.
And so don't pursue knowledge that I don't want you to have. And so anyway, all that to say is there's knowledge everywhere. There's information everywhere. I think that just sitting in front of your phone all day, watching the news all day, I don't think that's healthy or helpful at all. I don't think it's good. On the flip side, being completely out of the know is probably not good either. You probably do need some type of information, some type of input. And so just ask the Lord to help you with balance there. As far as the stress is concerned, it's funny because we get information that we don't like and we become stressed. But we also become stressed when we don't get information at all.
Yeah.
And so, I think there's a balance that we have to manage, a tension that we have to manage. And, especially in these seasons where we've got family around and kids around, I think probably one of the best things we can do is put our phones down, be with the people that are around us and try to figure out better ways to get information.
Yeah, spend time with friends, family, whatever.
Yeah.
Definitely.
But we'll use technology. We're going to use technology probably more than we ever have in this season as a church. I don't know what the weeks ahead look like at all. Again, we are making decisions day to day. So as far as upcoming weekends and weekend services and the way that we receive the Word of God and do corporate worship and small group worship, we probably will use technology more than we ever have before. So we consider that a gift from the Lord.
Amen.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much.
Yeah.
I've enjoyed it. This has been great. So we just hope that this was helpful for you this week. We would love to partner with you in prayer. And so if you have any prayer requests, you can submit them online on our website, and we would love to partner with you in prayer during this time. But that's all for this time. So hope you all have a great week.